The Sunset Ridge Motel wasn't just cheap, it felt forgotten, like the kind of place where time moved slower and shadows clung too long to the corners. I've been driving since 5 a.m., my back stiff from the seat of my dented Civic, my eyelids heavy with that particular exhaustion that makes highway lines blur together. When I pulled into the cracked parking lot, the neon sign flickered like a dying pulse, casting jagged light over the rows of identical doors. Room 9 was at the far end, tucked behind a broken ice machine, and the clerk handed me the key card with a grunt, his nicotine-stained fingers avoiding mine like I might contaminate him. The room smelled like bleach and something sour beneath it. Old sweat, maybe, or the ghost of 1,000 strangers' bad nights. I didn't bother unpacking. Just kicked off my shoes, set my phone to charge, though the outlet sparked when I plugged it in, and collapsed onto the mattress, which sagged like it had given up on life years ago. The knocking woke me with a jolt. Not the sharp rap of housekeeping or a neighbor's fist, but something deliberate. 3 slow, spaced-out taps, like whoever was out there was savoring the sound. My phone said 12:17 a.m., and for a groggy second, I wondered if I'd sleep-ordered food. Then the voice came, muffled but too clear, like it was being funneled through the door's peephole. "Your food's here." My stomach dropped. I hadn't ordered shit. The floorboards creaked as I crept to the door, my sock catching on a loose nail in the carpet. And when I pressed my eye to the peephole, the guy outside was already waiting. Hoodie pulled low, face tilted up toward me like he knew exactly where I'd be looking. His hands cradled a pizza box, lid half open, and even through the fisheye lens I could see it was empty. No cheese, no steam, just damp cardboard warped from what looked like puddle water. Behind him, the parking lot was dead silent. No engine rumble, no footsteps, just the buzz of the flickering sign and his slow, wet breathing against the door that I didn't move. Didn't breathe. The guy outside tilted the pizza box slightly, as if offering me a better look at nothing. That's when I noticed his fingers, too long, the knuckles bulging unnaturally under the skin, nails yellowed and cracked like old piano keys. The hoodie wasn't just black. It was soaked through, dripping onto the concrete in thick, slow drops that didn't spread like water should. My hand flew to my mouth to stifle a gasp when he suddenly leaned in closer, his forehead now pressing against the door with a soft, wet sound. The peephole went dark for a second before clearing again, and in that moment, I swear I saw his eye, milky white, pupil dilated huge, staring right back at me through the tiny lens. A cold sweat broke across my back as the realization hit. He wasn't just knocking randomly. He knew I was there. He knew I was watching point. 3 more knocks came, this time in a pattern, 2 quick, 1 slow, like some twisted secret code. The voice returned, but now it sounded different, like multiple people speaking at once. "I saw your car out front." My blood turned to ice. Through the peephole, I watched as he slowly raised one of those 2 long fingers and pointed directly at my Civic, the only car parked in this dead-end section of the lot. The pizza box slipped from his other hand, landing with a splat that shouldn't have been possible from an empty container. When he bent to pick it up, his hood fell back just enough to reveal the side of his neck, covered in what looked like deep, jagged scratches, the skin around them an unnatural purple. The smell hit me then, seeping under the door, rotting meat, and something chemical like cleaning supplies mixed with decay. My hands shook so badly I could barely grip my phone as I dialed the front desk, but all I got was a busy signal that cut to what sounded like someone breathing heavily before going silent. The silence stretched for what felt like hours, but my phone showed only 7 minutes had passed. I pressed my ear against the door, straining to hear any movement outside. At first, nothing, then the faintest sound of fabric dragging across concrete, like wet denim being pulled slowly along the pavement. My breath hitched when I realized it was getting closer. The smell intensified too, that awful cocktail of spoiled meat and chemicals now mixed with something metallic blood, fresh and coppery. Through the peephole, I saw him standing motionless about 10 feet from my door, head cocked at an impossible angle, staring at something on the ground. The pizza box lay open near his feet, and even from his distance I could see dark stains spreading across the cardboard. When he suddenly dropped to his knees with a sickening crack, I almost screamed. His fingers dug into the box, tearing it apart with jerky, unnatural movements as he began arranging the pieces in some sort of pattern on the asphalt. That's when the lights in the parking lot started dying. One by one, the sodium bulbs flickered out, plunging sections of the lot into darkness that seemed to creep toward my room. The neon sign buzzed violently before shattering in a shower of sparks, casting the hooded figure in eerie, stuttering light as he worked. My hands were slick with sweat as I fumbled to engage the deadbolt as quietly as possible, but the mechanism clicked louder than I expected. His head snapped up instantly. Even through the peephole's distortion, I could see his grin, too wide, stretching farther than any human mouth should. The remaining lights failed completely then, leaving only the dim glow from my bathroom seeping under the door. I held my breath, counting seconds in the darkness, until a new sound made my blood freeze. Fingernails or claws, lightly scraping down the outside of my door, starting at the top and working their way down with agonizing slowness. Then, from impossibly close right against the wood, room 9, always, checks out, my body locked up, pure animal instinct screaming that if I moved, if I even breathed too loud, whatever was on the other side of that door would know exactly where I was. The scratching stopped abruptly, replaced by a new sound, something thick and wet being smeared across the peephole in slow, deliberate circles. The bathroom light flickered, casting jagged shadows that made the bloodstains on the carpet. Had those been there before? Looked like grasping fingers. I inched backward, knees trembling, until my hip bumped the nightstand. The motel Bible thudded to the floor, pages fluttering open to a passage someone had circled in red ink. The grave cries out for those who do not rest. A metallic click from the door made my stomach drop. The deadbolt was turning on its own, the mechanism grinding like rusty gears. That's when I noticed the chain lock, slowly sliding out of its track. Not being forced, being invited out, I lunged for the bathroom just as the door burst open. Not with a crash, but with a sigh, like the room itself was exhaling. The smell hit me like a physical blow, rotting flowers and open graves. I barely caught a glimpse of the figure silhouetted in the doorway before slamming the bathroom door shut. My back pressed against it as something heavy dragged itself across the main room's carpet. The mirror above the sink was fogging up despite the cold, words appearing like an invisible hand was writing them. Your slice is waiting. The faucet turned on by itself, spewing water the color of weak tea, and that's when I saw it, reflected in the mirror behind me. The bathroom door was already open, the hooded figure standing perfectly still in the frame, his dripping hands outstretched. Not toward me, toward the pizza box he'd placed neatly on the toilet lid. Inside, curled like a sleeping fetus, was a human finger wearing what looked like a motel keycard as a ring that I don't remember screaming. I don't remember pushing past him. My next coherent thought was the night air slapping my face as I sprinted barefoot across the parking lot. The pavement ice cold and littered with what felt like broken teeth, but had to be gravel. My car door wouldn't open. The locks were jammed. So I smashed the passenger window with a rock, glass spraying like diamonds in the moonlight. The engine roared to life as I peeled out, rearview mirror showing room 9's door swinging gently in my wake. No figure, no movement, just that damn pizza box sitting perfectly centered in the threshold, glowing faintly under the shattered neon sign. It wasn't until I hit the highway that I noticed my left hand stinging, a deep, crescent-shaped wound in my palm, as if I clenched something sharp without realizing. Nestled in the cut was a single shred of damp cardboard. The cops called me hysterical when I returned with them at dawn. Room 9 was spotless. No pizza box, no blood, no scratches. The clerk insisted nobody had rented that room in weeks. But as the detective walked me out, I saw it, a single greasy fingerprint on my car's rear window, right eye level. And when I checked my delivery app that night, there was an active order I didn't place, going to my own address, placed under the name 9th Guest. The special instructions? Leave slice by door. I'll know if you eat it. I moved cities the next week. Change my name. But sometimes when I'm delivering to a lonely motel at night, I'll catch a flicker of movement in room 9's window. And if I listen too close to the static between radio stations, I can still hear that wet, clicking whisper, "Your delivery is late." I was 3 weeks into a brutal business trip, the kind where every highway motel blurs into the next. When I pulled into the Starlight Motel somewhere near the Kansas-Nebraska border, the place looked like it hadn't been updated since the 70s. Peeling paint, flickering neon, and a lobby that smelled like stale coffee and carpet cleaner. The clerk, a gaunt guy with a nicotine stain on his shirt collar, handed me the key to room 207 without making eye contact. "Into the hall," he muttered. "Quietest one." At that point, I didn't care about decor. I just needed 6 hours of sleep before another 300 miles of driving. The room was exactly what you'd expect. Thin blankets, a TV bolted to the dresser, and that weird motel AC hum. I crashed hard at T2:03 a.m. I woke up like someone had dumped ice water down my spine. The sound was impossible. A heavy, grating scrape, like furniture being dragged across bare floors right above me. I lay there, heart hammering, as it stopped, then started again, slower this time, like whatever was moving it was taking its time. I grabbed the phone and dialed the front desk. The clerk answered on the first ring, like he'd been waiting. "There's someone in the room above me," I hissed. "They're dragging shit across the floor." The line went silent for way too long. Then, softly, "Sir, that section's only 2 floors. There's nothing above you." I yanked open the curtains. Moonlight lit the roof line flat empty. No 3rd floor. My throat went dry. I stood there, staring at the ceiling like it might suddenly make sense. But the scraping started again, louder now, followed by a sickening thud. Like something massive had been dropped. My hands shook as I fumbled for my phone, thumb hovering over the record button. Maybe evidence would make this real, or prove I was losing it. But the second I hit record, the noise stopped. Dead silence. The kind that presses against your eardrums. I forced a laugh, trying to rationalize it. Old pipes? Wind? But then at exactly 2:22 a.m., 3 knocks boomed from above, so hard I felt them in my ribs. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Then the whisper that "IT" wasn't a voice, not really. More like words forming inside the walls, slithering through the drywall. "We moved the bed for you." My skin prickled. I didn't scream, didn't run. I just sat there, gripping the cheap motel blanket like a kid hiding from a nightmare. The AC kicked on, and I nearly jumped out of my skin, but the room stayed quiet after that. No more knocks, no whispers. Dawn felt like it took years to come. The second the sky turned gray, I threw my shit into my suitcase and bolted. The clerk didn't even look up as I slammed the key on the counter. The morning air outside was thick with humidity, but I still felt cold, like something had clung to me in that room and refused to let go. As I tossed my bag into the trunk, I caught myself staring at the roofline again. That's when I saw it. A small, boarded-up attic window, almost hidden behind the motel's faded sign. It was directly above room 207. The wood panels were old, splintered, but one of them had slipped sideways, leaving a black gap just wide enough to see inside. And there, dangling from the opening, was a broken vent cover, swaying slightly in the breeze like it had been forced open from within. My stomach dropped. That wasn't there last night, that I should have just driven away. But some stupid, human part of me needed proof, needed to believe there was an explanation. I circled the building, my shoes crunching on gravel, until I found a rusted maintenance ladder bolted to the side. The metal groaned under my weight as I climbed, each rung feeling less stable than the last. When I reached the top, I hesitated. The gap in the boards was just big enough to press my face against. The smell hit me first, damp wood, mildew, and something sharper like old meat. Then, as my eyes adjusted to the dark, I saw it. A single chair placed dead center in the empty attic, and on the floor around it, deep, fresh scratches in the dust. The chair wasn't just there, it was positioned like someone had been sitting in it, watching. The backrest faced the window, but the seat was angled toward the spot directly above my room. My pulse roared in my ears as I noticed the dust patterns. Footprints. Not old, not vague, defined as if made recently. They led from a chair to the far wall, where the vent hung loose. That's when I saw the stains on the floorboards beneath it. Dark, uneven splotches that trailed toward the opening. Blood? Rushed. I didn't want to know. I jerked back, my shoulder slamming into the ladder. The whole structure shuddered, and for one heart-stopping second, I thought it would collapse under me. Then from inside the attic, a creak. The sound of weight shifting. The chair that I didn't wait to see if it moved. I half slid, half fell down the ladder, my palms burning against the rusted metal. When my feet hit the ground, I didn't stop running until I was back in my car, fumbling with the keys like something was right behind me. The clerk was outside now, leaning against the office doorway, watching me with this smirk. Not concern, not confusion, like he'd been expecting this. "You here better up close?" he called, his voice dripping with something between amusement and menace. I didn't answer. I just peeled out of the lot, my rear wheels kicking up gravel. Paragraph 9. I drove for hours without stopping, my knuckles white on the steering wheel. Every time I blinked, I saw that attic, the chair, the stains, the way the dust moved like someone had just stepped away. By the time I pulled into a crowded truck stop, the sun was high, but I still felt frozen. I Googled the motel. Nothing. Just the usual reviews complaining about thin towels and slow Wi-Fi. Then, buried in a forum from 2006, a single thread, * Starlight Motel, room 207, don't stay. * the post was short, all caps, asked for a quiet room. They gave me 207. Heard the scratching all night. Kleklit. There's no third floor. My breath caught. Below it, one reply, a dead link titled surveillance footage attic.mp4. I called the police. Not 911, just the local non-emergency line. Played it casual. "Hey, think there might be trespassers in the attic at the Starlight Motel." The dispatcher sighed like she'd heard this before. "We'll send a unit." I hung up, but not fast enough to miss her muttering to someone. Again. That word stuck in my head. Again. I thought about the clerk's smirk, the fresh footprints, the way the chair faced the vent like a goddamn observation post. Hours later, I checked the news. Nothing. No arrests. No reports. Just a single update on the motel's website. Under new management. Remodeled rooms. The photo showed fresh paint covering room 207's door that a year later, I got an email. No subject, no signature. Just an attachment. A grainy black and white video. Security footage timestamped 2:03 a.m. It showed the attic. Empty. Then, slow, the chair turned on its own, squealing against the floorboards until it faced the vent. The footage cut to static before I could see what happened next. I deleted it. Changed my number. But sometimes, when I'm in a hotel alone, I wake up at exactly 2:22 a.m. and lie there, staring at the ceiling, waiting. Because now I know the worst part. Whatever was in that attic wanted me to see it. And it's still looking for quiet rooms that I never found out who sent the video. The motel got demolished last year. Structural issues, the news said. But here's the thing no one talks about. Demolition crews found nothing in the attic. No chair, no stains, no evidence anyone had ever been up there. Just dust. And yet, the foreman's report noted one odd detail. The vent cover was missing, like something had taken it on the way out. My name's Daniel Carter, and this happened last October. I was driving from Phoenix to Denver for a job interview, the kind of opportunity that could have finally pulled me out of my dead-end retail gig. I'd been on the road for hours, my eyes burning from exhaustion, when I spotted the flickering neon sign of the Sunset Ridge Motel just off I-40. The place looked straight out of the 70s. Cracked pavement, a rusted ice machine, and this weird, heavy smell in the air, like wet carpet and something sour underneath. The clerk handed me the key to room 104 without even looking up, mumbling something about quiet hours. The room was exactly what you'd expect for $49 a night. Scratchy sheets, a TV bolted to the dresser, and a bathroom with tiles that looked like they'd been stained by decades of hard water. The light outside my door buzzed like a dying insect, casting this uneven glow that made the shadows in the hallway seem off. I didn't think much of it at the time. I just crashed on a bed, fully dressed, too tired to even brush my teeth. That's why. When I woke up at 3:40 a.m. to knocking coming from the bathroom, my first thought wasn't fear, it was annoyance. Probably the damn pipes, I figured, or some idiot next door banging around. But then it happened again. 3 sharp knocks, deliberate, like someone testing if I was awake. I held my breath, waiting. Silence, I forced myself to roll over, burying my face in the pillow. Just sleep. You've got 5 hours till checkout. But at 4:11 a.m., my phone buzzed on the nightstand. A voicemail notification. The screen showed unknown number, and for half a second, I wondered if it was the job recruiter calling weirdly early. I was too groggy to listen right then, so I let it go. Big mistake. When I finally played it over coffee at the diner across the street, my stomach dropped. 6 seconds of white noise, then a whisper, so close it sounded like lips were pressed against the receiver. Daniel. My name. Clear as day. Then a click, the kind old phones make when you hang up. I nearly choked on my coffee. My hand shook as I pulled up the call log. The voicemail hadn't come from some random number. It was from the motel's own landline. Room 104. I marched straight to the front desk, where the same bored clerk from last night was flipping through a magazine. Did someone call my room last night? I asked. He frowned. We don't call guests. Ever. I pushed. What about maintenance? Maybe someone used the phone. He leaned forward, lowering his voice like he was sharing a secret. Mister, those phones don't work unless you're inside the room. I went back to the room, my skin prickling. The clerk's words played on loop in my head. Unless you're inside the room. I locked the door behind me and stood there, staring at the phone like it might ring again. The bathroom door was slightly ajar, just as I'd left it. Swallowing hard, I pushed it open with my foot. The fluorescent light flickered, making the shadows in the shower stall twitch. Everything looked normal, until I crouched to check under the sink. That's when I saw it. Faint scratches on the pipes, fresh enough to catch the light, like someone had been down there recently. Then I noticed a vent above the shower. The cover was tilted, one screw dangling loose. I grabbed a towel to stand on the edge of the tub, my heart hammering as I reached up. The metal was ice cold. I pulled, just an inch, and a draft hit my face, carrying that same sour milk smell from the hallway. The gap was narrow, but wide enough for someone to peer through, or whisper into. My blood turned to sludge. Had someone been watching me sleep? I fumbled for my phone, ready to call the cops, when a noise made me freeze. A click from somewhere inside the walls. Not pipes, not imagination. Something was moving in there. I bolted out of the bathroom, slamming the door shut behind me. My hands were so slick with sweat, I could barely grip my keys. Logic screamed at me to just leave, but some morbid curiosity glued me to the spot. I needed proof, something to show the cops, or at least to convince myself I wasn't losing it. I yanked open the nightstand drawer. Empty, except for a Gideon Bible and a receipt. Faded, crumpled, dated 3 days prior. Room 104, paid in cash. The name scribbled at the top wasn't mine. Edvase. A knock at the door made me jump. Not the bathroom this time, the front door. 3 sharp raps, identical to the ones that woke me. My throat closed up. Through the peephole, the hallway was empty. Then the knock came again from inside the bathroom. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The vent cover clattered to the shower floor. And that's when I heard it, a wet, ragged inhale like someone struggling to draw breath through a narrow tube. Inside the walls. I didn't wait to hear more. I sprinted to my car, tires screeching as I peeled onto the highway that I drove for 2 hours straight, white-knuckling the wheel before I finally pulled into a gas station. My reflection in the rearview mirror looked like hell. Pale, pupils blown wide, hair sticking to my forehead with cold sweat. I called the motel from the payphone outside. No way was I using my cell. The clerk answered, and I demanded to know who'd stayed in room 104 before me. Silence. Then, flatly, no one. That room's been out of service for repairs since last week. Bullshit. I'd slept there. I'd seen the receipt. My voice shook. Then why the hell did you rent it to me? The line went dead. Back in my car, I Googled Sunset Ridge Motel incident, and my stomach dropped. A local news article from 2008 mentioned an unresolved investigation after a handyman named Leonard Vassie went missing during renovations. Last seen on the property. No body. No suspects. The motel had quietly settled with the family. I scrolled to the grainy photo of Vassie, a gaunt man with hollow eyes, and my blood ran cold. The receipt in the drawer had his name, his room, and something in those walls had known mine that I never made it to the Denver interview. I drove straight home, slept with the lights on for a week, and told myself it was just a prank, a sick coincidence. But then the voicemail started, always at 4:11 a.m., always from block numbers. 6 seconds of static, then that same whisper, Daniel. Click. I changed my number, moved apartments, even switched jobs. For a while it worked, until last month when I checked into a cheap hotel near Albuquerque, just for one night. The clerk slid the key across the counter without looking up. Room 104. The light outside flickered, and as I stood there, frozen, I heard it, 3 knocks. From inside the bathroom that I left. Didn't even unpack. Now I only stay in chain hotels, ones with bright lobbies and security cameras. But sometimes, when I'm half asleep, I'll catch a whiff of mildew, or hear a faint click from the vents. And I know, wherever Leonard Vassie is, he's still looking for someone to take his place.